Welcome to Teach Me a Lesson. I am Elliott G-B. As always, thank you so much for listening, watching, checking out the podcast. If you are watching, you will notice there's something different. If you're listening, there's something different too. This episode is late, and if you're watching, there's no video for this intro. That's because I am not at home. I'm out on the road, and I wasn't able to record an intro before I left. And it's late because I've been busy and mental health stuff. That all kind of comes first, no matter what. So, yeah. But still, thank you so much for checking it out, for supporting the podcast. If you want to extend that support, as always, follow on social media at TMALPod for Instagram and Twitter, and Teach Me a Lesson Pod on TikTok. Again, that is TMALPod, Instagram, Twitter, Teach Me a Lesson Pod on TikTok. Also, as you all know, check out the Patreon where you can support the podcast, cover those hosting fees, the production costs, all of that for just $3 a month. For $5 a month, you get bonus content for every episode. $10 a month, you get some of my merch and the bonus content. All of that, $5 and $10, you also get a shout out on the podcast. So again, check that out, patreon.com/ElliottGB. That is my name, ELLIOTT. And speaking of my name, you want to come show even more support, come see me do some stand-up. I just started a new show in LA called The Comic Con at this awesome new comic book store and pinball arcade in Glass Hill Park. The next show is June 3rd. That is this upcoming Friday at 10 p.m. We got some amazing comedians on there. You know them from HBO, Netflix, Comedy Central, all that good stuff. So come check it out. Only $10 if you buy tickets in advance. $15 at the door. So make sure to check that out. Again, June 3rd in LA, 10 p.m. The Comic Con. Also, if you were going to be in Seattle, June 22nd through the 24th, come on out. June 22nd, I will be at Joke Tellers Union, one of my favorite shows in Seattle. It's amazing. It's awesome. June 23rd, I will be headlining at Olmsted on Capitol Hill. That one I want to sell out, so please come out and support. It's going to be a good time. A lot of great comics on that show as well. And on the 24th, it's a bit of a secret, but I will say I will be at Don't Tell. So yeah, check that out. All the ticket links will be in my bio, so follow me on social media at GrentRadish, GrentRadish. Also, that's where I post about all my upcoming shows, so that way you will know the first when it happens. Cool, that sentence kind of fell apart. But yeah, again, follow me on all social media platforms at GrentRadish, GrentRadish, and come out and show some love and some support. Just wrapping it up quick, make sure rate and review wherever you can. Share the news about the podcast, and yeah, take care of your mental health. Go talk to somebody if needed. I know it's tough. It can be very hard to do. But yeah, it's necessary and it helps. And everybody wants you here. So yeah, let's get into it. Very excited about this episode. Just a great comic, great human being. Got lucky enough to meet him in Seattle before I moved and was able to open up for him recently in one of my favorite clubs in the world, Comedy on State. And yeah, he's just a joy to have and a joy to talk to. So please, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Joe, Mr. D. Dombrowski.
This is the brokest I've ever been. I've always had a job, and now I don't have a job, and I'm just like, all right, let's make it work. And it's incredibly stressful, but also it pushes you in a way that having that safety net wouldn't, because especially when it comes to like spots, because you're like, oh, I really want to, do this or do that or whatever. And then if you have kind of that safety net, you're just like, oh, I guess, I'll take 10 minutes or 15 minutes for, $20 or whatever. But now I'm like, I need this fucking money. So if I'm going to like be going out somewhere, I need to get as much as possible and do whatever. So like, I'm going to be asking for feature spots. I'm going to be asking for headlining spots on, smaller spots and all that shit. Which is interesting because it's like, as much as you feel like you deserve it and it's valid, it's kind of like, oh, I guess, realizing I wasn't really asking for all of that before because I was not as stressed or in such a hard spot, Does that make sense?
I'm so glad that you said that. Yeah, because I remember the brokest I've ever been is it was still when I had a full-time job. So when I was full-time teaching, like that first, I don't know if you know that teachers are poor, but
I've heard
your first few years, you're like super poor. And I remember I'd get my paychecks and then I would pay all my bills and have literally zero left. So comedy, what for me at the time was legitimate the only way that I was putting gas in my tank to then get to my full-time job that I still couldn't pay my bills off for. So I was doing the same thing as you. I was like, no one's just going to give you spots. No one's just going to give you these opportunities. And I love that you ask. You know how many people just sit around on their ass and think that people are just going to be like, would you like to headline for $150? Like, no one's going to do that. You
Yeah.
have to put yourself in that position to even be seen. Nobody's going to advocate for you but you. That's when shit's like switched for me, for
Yeah.
sure.
It really is that thing. And it's like, and sometimes it does happen. And I mean, for me personally, I'm very introverted and shy, and just like, you know, if I'm at a party, I'm just kind of hanging back if I don't know anyone, this and that. And so like reaching out and doing all that is very foreign to me naturally. You know, it's not like my instinct. It's kind of like uncomfortable. And just seeing that sometime, and you know, clubs want to, oh, we'll call you and this and that and all that shit. And so you're just kind of like, all right, well, you know, I'll wait, and they see me, so when they think it's a good fit or whatever, then I'll come up. But then it's like, you do realize that maybe just going to a bigger spot, or kind of seeing the scope of how many comics are actually out there, and being like, oh yeah, no one's just gonna be like, all right, where can we fit Elliot, or where can we fit Joe? You know, let's really look at our calendar and this and that. It's like, no, if you're at that level to be in someone's mind like that, then like, they're not, where can we fit them? It's okay, they're gonna have this weekend, or they're gonna be doing these amounts of shows, and you know, that type of shit. So it really is like, you just got to go and claw for it, and just.
But that's a thing too. It's like that people forget how easy it is in comedy to fall behind, because if you are not on their mind, which you never are, you're not going to get the opportunity. You have to remind them that you exist. And I would argue that even goes for like the top dogs, because even like top dogs, like if you think about it, like let's just say like Joe Coy, just throwing a name out there, right? Playing arenas, right? Well, he's still got competition. Like, you know, Harry fucking Styles, Lady Gaga, they're trying to get the same venues. So who's going to make those bookers be like, you know what, Joe Coy? Nobody. He's got to like stay in their mind. His team has to keep him in people's minds. Nobody's advocating for you. So, hello.
That's a good fucking point. Ooh, all right. I'm jazzed now. I'm jazzed. Let's go. Yeah, let's just get into it. What's your lesson? What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so this is perfect. This is the perfect segue. Mind you, if I do toot my horn myself, this quote that I'm about to tell you is from my brain, and I think it's really fucking good. Okay?
All right, let's go.
And this is the quote. There's not just one ladder to the top. There's multiple ladders, and it's okay to switch ladders as long as you just keep climbing. So many times I see young people, not even young people, right? And they think that this is the path to get where I need to go. That is so friggin' false. You need to create your own journey and your own destiny, and just switch and keep and try new things and keep going and keep going and keep going up. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again to try to get to your goal, I hope to God you can get there. That is one way. That is one ladder. But that is only one opportunity and one way to do it. You got to try new things and keep going and keep climbing and keep doing it and making it happen. It's like you can't just sit on your ass, you know? Yeah. So it's okay to switch ladders. Just keep climbing.
Damn.
Brother. Yeah. Am I right? Like, is that going to be on tattoos someday? Like,
hey man, I just want you to know I heard the podcast. I heard the quote. Check this out. It's just a full. But it's just that whole speech that you say right there.
And then like knowing me, I'm be like, bro, like that's not in quotations and my name's not after it. Yeah.
Damn. No, I mean that hits hard, because you never really hear that last part. I think is kind of the most important, that it's okay to switch, because you never really hear that. You hear, oh, there's different paths and everyone has, you know, their different journey to get there, but you never really hear yeah, if something's not working, then switch it up. You know, it's always the stick with it, stick with it, stick
Mm-hmm.
with it. But it can be way more detrimental than it is good to
Mm-hmm.
stick with something that isn't working than to just say, oh, this isn't working. All right, let me try something else, and then not waste my time.
Well, our industry, entertainment too, it's the land of a million no's, right? And so many people just sit around and they have that no. You're fine. You're fine. Where they have that nose and they just wait for that same door to open again rather than
Hmm.
just being like, okay, what's my next step? And if you aren't thinking about what that next step is, it will not happen. And the other thing that I do, like all my ladders, when I look at why my ladders work and why I'm able to climb on one for so long before switching, it's because I look at what everybody else is doing and I make a very conscious decision to be different. I know that my comedy is so unique compared to everybody's material that's out there, and I know that that's why what I do works.
Hmm.
So when a door closes for me, I look at the next ladder. I'm like, okay, this is the ladder. This is what people are doing, but how do I make mine just a little bit different to get the yes?
Hmm.
I don't know. So many people are just, I gotta say it, lazy. I gotta say it. I gotta
Okay,
say
Kim K.
it. I
Okay,
gotta
Kim K.
say it.
Let's
I
go.
gotta say it. I gotta say it. No, I do. I really feel like a lot of people just think that things just happen, and it's false. It's a
Yeah,
pipe dream.
yeah.
Whoops.
Even too, not even like consciously being lazy, but not realizing the fear of not even a no. I guess kind of speaking for myself, it just like I said up top, like that, it's just uncomfortable to reach out to, make that first step when it is very unknown. And even like I've talked about it in therapy, and it's so weird because they'll be like, well, why do you think that? Like, what are you scared of? And I'm like, I don't know. It's not like I have a fear where I'm like, all right, I'm going to ask them for this. And they'll say, you will never work in this industry. Like, it's nothing like that. It's just like that first step. I'm like, it just makes me uncomfortable. So I'm not even going to do it.
I heard this quote. It wasn't a quote. It was a like a comparison about discomfort, and it was comparing. It was talking to like a human's discomfort to the discomfort of a lobster. And a lobster, they molt their shells. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
molt their shells, and the reason they do it is because they become so uncomfortable in their own skin that they molt their shells. And what happens after they molt their shells? They grow. They become like a few inches bigger or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like discomfort is good because it motivates you to be better.
What's like a quick backstory on you for people who are unfamiliar? Where are you from? Who are you?
Backstory. Um, I'm from Detroit, actually. I don't know if I ever told you that. So I was a teacher for a very long time, an elementary school teacher, taught for about 10 years, and I was always doing comedy for a um, you know, to supplemental income. And by income, I use that term very generously. I was doing comedy and then it just like exploded from a viral video that I put out. I did a fake spelling test with my students, went massively viral and landed me on the Ellen show, which was pretty cool. And that was like my real big pop. And from there, it just like grew and grew and grew. And now I am headlining all over the country
There you
and
go.
getting ready to film my first special. Like, getting a
Oh,
little wild over here. It's heating up. It's heating up.
nice.
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell.
Cool. When are you filming the special?
December, actually.
Damn.
And I'm actually doing so in the spirit of doing things differently. I am filming it in the first school that I ever taught at. So I'm going to
Nice.
film it in the auditorium there. And
Nice. Dang,
yeah,
that's gonna be
just
dope.
really dial in on that sort of feel for it. We'll see.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Would you say, was there like a moment that you could pinpoint or kind of like a time when you realized this lesson and your ladders and moving, or is it kind of like a gradual thing?
Hmm. I truly don't think I could pinpoint it. I don't think I could pinpoint it. I think I think it took me a while to realize that when one door closes, another one opens,
Mm-hmm.
because I think for a long time I would just like put that on myself and be like, oh, when someone would say no, it's like, oh, you're not good enough, you're not whatever. And it's like, well, it's not that you're not good enough. It's just like you weren't good enough for that, but that doesn't mean that what you're doing. And it's true, that Lady Gaga quote that she said like a million times on like a million different press junkets, where she said like there could be 100 people in the room and 99 people don't see it and one
Mm-hmm.
does. That's so true. Like it just literally takes like one person to see it. It just has to be like the right person with the right connections, because this industry is like the gatekeepiest thing in the world. It's just
Yes.
like literally 5 people just need to see it and like give you a pass to the next thing. And then on top of that, it's also so political. So it's really not, it's truly sometimes not talent. Yes, you have to be talented, but it takes like, what are the connections do you have? Who's representing you? What do they owe each other? And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh God, it's a never ending rat race. But here's the thing, I'm down to run. So,
Yeah. I have two quotes. One I've heard probably within like the last couple years, but it really is, especially out here in LA, it's like 10% talent and 90% just networking, connections, industry, business bullshit. Which sounds weird. It sounds in something, in like if you look at like fine art, that's where it's like, okay, yeah, I could see it, I guess. Like I don't really know much about art, but in comedy it's like if it's funny, it's funny, you can't really fake laughter. Some people do, some people, industry secret, there's some specials, some people faking it, but
hey,
but in the moment, if you're in that room, it's like, okay, this, you can't put someone up there who's not fucking funny and then be like, well, they have a bunch of agents and whatever. It's like the crowd will be like, no, this isn't how it works. But it kind of is, because then you see, okay, this person's on this show, how are X people getting thrown in here, and I feel like I'm really rambling today. I
no,
had
you're
coffee
not
for
at
the
all.
first
You're
time
not.
in a long
Oh, you
time.
did? I love coffee.
Yeah,
I'm addicted.
yeah,
I'm about to pour myself another glass. You're
dude.
not rambling, because listen, so here's my thing with comedy is I don't say that I don't say that any comedian is bad, like any successful comedian. I don't say
Yeah,
that you're bad, because you look at their shows and they're selling out and they're doing well. So
yeah,
comedy is so relative. It's either like funny to you or it's not, and it doesn't mean that they're bad, because they have a whole following of people who do find that thing funny.
yeah,
However, one time I did see a special go out there to a person, and it was not good. And I can say that because it wasn't the content. The content was good. The writing was decent. This person was not a stand-up and got a special. And it was like, oh, this is a funny person who has outlets in other areas and has done other big things. And her team was like, you know what? Stand-up special. And they
yeah,
went and produced that and put that out there, and it wasn't good. So
yeah,
it's like that proves the point of, you have to have it's an element of having the right people in your corner who have connections to the other right people and have those relationships to make it happen. Because it's also a fact of like, I'm probably breaking hearts over here, like so many young comics like listening, but it's also a fact of like you, agent, represent these people, right? You represent these people, and here's a club, right? And they know that that agent represents these comics. So the agent's going to be like, oh, dangle a little fruit and be like, do you want this one? And the club's going to be like, not really, but we know if we take them that we're going to get access to the rest of yours because we did you
mm,
a solid. And it's like, see, that's how this
yeah,
happens.
yeah. Okay. So the point I was trying to get at was the
So it's like,
the
I'm on a
90.
tangent.
No, you're fine, because that's totally it. But it's like the 90-10 thing is kind of starting over. This is like shit that I'm seeing right now. It's like you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you don't have those connects, you're just going to fucking open mics. You're going to really just open mics, being like, all right, if I kill it here, then someone who runs a show will be in the audience and be like, oh man, that person's really good. I want to put him on my show. That's not really what happened. They're gonna be like, man, that person's really funny, but I don't know them, and no one I know knows them. So all right, and then they'll move on and be like, but I know this person, let me go talk to this person. So that's the thing, where it's like you think it would be just kind of that rules all, but it doesn't. And then like you said, it gets even fucking deeper when you go into the back offices and this and that, and like the access and shit. But the second thing I was gonna say was, this is actually that something my high school theater teacher said that I'm so glad I learned early, because it does put the whole no thing in perspective and being kind of the right place at the right time, especially with theater, where it's like, all right, theater or just any acting in general, it's like you're going out for a specific role. You have to fit whatever kind of mold that casting person has in their head. So if they say no, it's not necessarily a no. No, 9 times out of 10, it's not a no to you. It's a no because maybe you're just 2 inches too short, or maybe you have the wrong hair color, or maybe, just your shoes are too big for the shoes that they want to use for that character, So it's not like, it kind of makes it way less impersonal. And of course, they're not ever going to tell you that. They're not going to,
No,
I mean,
you're never getting feedback ever.
might, but it'll be very, very rare. But that's the thing, where it's saying that instantly, I was like, oh, okay. So if I don't get something, yeah, it sucks, but it's not necessarily because I'm bad. It's just because they had a certain mold and maybe I didn't fit it for X reason and whatever. Now, it is a little different when it's stand up and you're like, okay, I created all of this stuff and I'm showing you all of my work, and you're just going, no. And you're like, well, okay, that hurts a little bit different, but it still does keep it in that realm though, where you're like, all right, this isn't as personal as I want to take it,
Yeah, not taking it personal. That's a whole step that takes a while. So funny that you say that, because literally just got a text from my high school theater teacher who's coming to my show. She's never been able to see me perform in this capacity yet. And she's like, I just want to let you know, like, I'm in Buffalo when you're in Buffalo and I'm bringing my family to your show. I'm like, this is an incredible full circle moment.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I'm excited about it. I'm pretty excited about
That's
it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
I put that woman through hell, let me tell you. She's like, we'll pay for the tickets. I'm like, please don't. I owe you.
Yeah. She's just going to heckle you the whole time. She'll be like, well, what about this? What about that?
100%. I wouldn't doubt it.
How would you say this has affected your life, or just kind of like your moves going forward since you realized it?
I think that has affected my life because it has proven to be the reason why I've been able to be on an upward slope of success that has yet to go down. It might at some point, which is fine. I'll just switch ladders again. But I think that it's just given me a better outlook in like everything, like every opportunity. Like, it just makes me a happier person. I'm able to rationalize situations. I'm able to understand opportunity differently. And like, just because you don't get something doesn't mean it's you. It's just not the right time. It's somebody else's time, and that's okay. I think overall, it's just made me more content with life in general. Which is, I mean, is there anything else that you really need?
Yeah, that's good that it bleeds over into everything else, because it does. I mean, I'm thinking of it as just like, all right, it opens you up to just being more fluid with things in general, is seeing, okay, if I can take something from as important and intense to me as my career and be like, okay, there's more than one way to do it. I hate to be, there's more than one way to skin a cat, because that's the weirdest fucking saying in the world. But there's more than one way to go. And then kind of, taking a step back from that and then being like, okay, something else pops up just outside of that in everyday life. And you're just like, okay, there's more than one way to go about it,
100%. I think that in doing that, I've realized that like, I will not be satisfied. I will not be satisfied if my career plateaus here for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. I have huge goals that I want to like conquer and attack and get. However, having this mindset about the ladders has allowed me to realize that if my career plateaus here and this is the only level that I'm able to achieve for the rest of my career, I will be fine. I'll be fine. And everything will be worked out, and I'll be able to have all the personal goals accomplished that I want if this is the end of the road. So knowing that, I'm able to like move forward in life happily, you know?
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Damn, we kind of like flowed through this quick.
Mr. D, coming at you.
With the efficiency. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, or that's kind of popped up?
I do want to talk about this. This is like very important to me, and I'm so glad that you've given me a platform to let this out.
Yeah.
If anybody has connections to Mother Nature, I would really appreciate if you tell her that she's a fucking bitch, because the pollen situation that's happening in Seattle right now is honestly unjust. And I'm standing up for people with allergies, and I need her to know that I will pollinize the pollinizer. I will chop down the trees. I'm over it. I can't have this. Honestly, I don't look good with a red runny nose all the time, and I'm pissed. And that is what I have to say as the closer here. I'm standing up. I'm standing up for what's right, Elliott.
Wow. I think you might be the only person who is not a part of the government who is openly saying fuck nature. Let's finish what we started. Let's just keep it going.
It's wrong. There's too much pollen in the atmosphere, and it needs to be tarnished. And that's it. That's it. That's how I feel. Bada boom.
Damn. Well, actually, that did remind me. Not the pollen stuff. But I mean, I do also have allergies, so I feel you. But that makes me think of. I have a friend who. I think I've talked about this before, but I have a friend who I was talking to one time. This is like pre-pandemic. Who was like, "Yeah, man, I want to go to New York," and he does comedy and writes and is a filmmaker and stuff like that. And he's like, I want to go to New York. I think that's where I'm going to move. I'm kind of like, okay, why? And he's like, well, all my favorite people went through there. All the people I look up to went through there. So I kind of feel like I got to go, which I feel like is valid, but also I'm like, okay, but if you don't kind of have like some concrete reasons, or, if you're like, oh, this club is there and I really want to work there, or this, company is there and I'm hoping I can intern or do some shit. If you're just like, I just need to live there because everyone I like did. I feel like I'm like, yeah, but everyone has their own path, and those people I'm sure went there for some reason. But also, I mean, saying it out loud now, that's the type of shit you hear where it's like some like John Belushi or like weird 70s star shit where they're just like, yeah, I don't know, I just kind of got on a train and then I got there and then I was like, yeah, I don't know, I'll figure it out, and then Lorne Michaels saw me and that was it. But
not real.
Yeah, it just felt very weird to hear someone just be like, oh, my favorite people did this and that, and so I'm gonna kind of walk that same path, when it's like it was a different time. I hate to sound like that old person who's like, it was a different time, but it really was. And two, it's like if you're not really clear about why that would be good for you, I feel like it's kind of weird to just be like, yeah, we'll follow that same path,
Absolutely. And that's like that. I think comedy's changing big time too. Like, you see how people are moving tickets, and you see how people are getting access, and I've heard of like bigger clubs who are historically do not take a look at you unless it's live, and finally taking a look at clips, because like that's how this is working.
Yeah.
Lots of comics who have grown huge followings online because of posting segments rather than a full hour. Like, it's just changing. It's changing, baby. It's changing.
Yeah, the world is definitely changing. And that's like, I don't know. That's one thing I've always been interested in, hearing people's kind of origin story, or, comics or actors or writers, whoever I look up to, mainly comics, but just hearing kind of how they got to where they were, not for that same reason of like, all right, let me try to follow in those steps. But just like you said, it's a very gatekeepy industry. So just hearing
Super.
that little behind the scenes of like how things actually work or what they saw or what they had to go through. But then also it'll give you some idea of like, oh, okay, this is maybe kind of the route to go. Not, I'm going to follow in that exact same footsteps, but it's like, all right, this is kind of how you approach clubs, or maybe I should be approaching clubs, or, I'm not already, or just trying to circumnavigate, or circumvent, I guess, this industry and just try to go from a different route or whatever, that type of stuff has always
100%.
been
This is
super
exactly
interesting.
how it is. Exactly
Yeah.
how it is. Are most of your listeners interested in the industry?
I have zero idea.
I love
I have
that.
zero idea. I mean, I have had a lot of comics on so far, so I feel like that'll naturally bring
Yeah.
some people like that in. But I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully it's civilians or outsiders, I guess, which I hate to fucking use that term.
Thank you,
But
civilians. We love you. Come to my shows.
we couldn't do it without you. We really couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. But just hopefully I'm like, my goal for this is to just pass on any sort of knowledge. And I do like the insider tidbits, but then also it is interesting to see kind of how maybe lessons that could come from comedy can work outside of it or vice versa, I think that stuff's really interesting.
I'm just here dropping knowledge to the everyday person. Just
You're
giving
dropping
them-
quotes.
Here we go.
You're giving
Dropping
people
balls.
tattoo ideas.
Here we go, baby. Here we go. Absolutely.
If I'll say right here, if someone gets that quote tattooed, that whole section right there, if you get that tattooed, you get free access to the top tier Patreon tier for life. I'll say it right now. I'll say it right now. I'll put it out there. I'll take that hit. I'll take that hit if you get that ink, okay? And put
love
that out
that.
there.
I love it.
Put that. All right, well, wrap it up. Were there any books or anything that have helped you out along your journey, or anything you'd recommend?
That's so funny. There's one that is going to help me out on my journey that I literally just found out about yesterday. I was talking to Angela Johnson, very, very funny comedian. And she was talking to me about Kevin Hart's first book that he ever wrote. And I have this whole thing too about delusion. And it's like, if and this goes for any profession, you have to be delusional enough to make other people think that you already are what you want to be. Boom. And apparently Angela was telling me, because we were talking about that, she told me a hilarious story. Do you know who Angela Johnson is? You know Angela Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was on Mad TV, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So
yeah.
before any of that, she was a Raiderette for the Oakland Raiders. And
okay.
she said that at her audition, or at the tryouts, she has no dance experience. She can't hold it up, but she's very much like, when she went in, she's like, I can whip my hair, I can give them face, I can do the attitude. And she said that in front of everybody. The coach came up to her and said, clearly you're not a dancer, but you have what cannot be taught. And she made it, and she was a Raiderette. And she was like, it's because I sold the story. I wasn't this, but I sold it. And I'm like, okay. And she told me that in Kevin Hart's first book, he talks about how when he was just becoming to become something, he would go to after parties and things like that. And he'd show up with like security guards and a little bit of an entourage in a car that would like pull up and be like, someone's here, someone important. And he would get out, and he said people would just be like, and who is this? And it's because he was delusional enough to make people believe that he was somebody when he wasn't quite yet. And let me tell you what, baby, if there's something that I am going to do on my journey, it's play the game. You might not know me yet, but bitch, you're about to. And it's because I am nuts. Like, you will know who I am because I will force you to. And I'm like, no one's going to advocate for this but me. So let's go. I do sound like a sociopath, but hey, whatever it takes.
If that's what you're looking for, I'll fucking play the role, baby. I'll do whatever.
I have to tell you though, Elliott, it has not failed me yet. Listen to this. when I first had my first big pop on Ellen, I was like, okay, I'm building up a little bit of an audience. I have 40 minutes. I think I can headline outside of Michigan. And nobody's giving me the time of day, right? So I legitimately picked up the phone on my own and would cold call clubs and be like, hey, I represent Joe Dombrowski. I don't know if you've watched Ellen recently. Really racking up quite the impressive numbers here. Just really looking to get in, to get in. And then I'll be honest with you, it got a little bit of motion. Did it work? Not fully. So I had my best friend pose as my manager.
There you
Literally, he was nothing. He was nothing. And I was like, I need you to do this with me. And we called the club and I was like, you're my manager. Like, sell this. Like, make it happen. Got in. They gave me a shitty night, like a Tuesday. Sold it out. They came back and he was like, Joe, they're like asking me if you want to add a night. Like, I don't know what to do. I was like, add it. So we added another night.
You say yes.
We added another night, sold that out too. And from there, I was able to use that to call the other clubs. And we were like, this is what he's done. Do you want it? And they were like, yes. Built a small tour of 5 cities from that, one of which was LA. And at that show, got my managers and agents. So it was because I'm fucking crazy, man. Like, no one was going to tell me no.
That's such the fucking, speaking of insider industry information, that classic move of faking an agent or a manager to then, do whatever to the club, which people used to. Here's the thing. I had some friends who just did that like a month ago. Out here in LA, called a place pretending to be whatever, and they're like, I mean, it worked. And we were talking about, I'm like, it's so crazy because it used to work back then because it's like, yeah, it's the fucking 80s. It's the 90s. Like,
yeah. Like,
all right. Yeah.
Show up with an 8-ball and they'll let you do it.
If you call a place in LA and you're like, oh, I represent this dude in Seattle, they're going to be like, okay, maybe I know some people in Seattle, but I don't know everybody. So I'm just going to kind of take your word for it if you fill the shoes. But these days they were like, yeah, we did that. And I'm like, how did this person not just do a simple Google search and be like, oh, your name is Larry what? There's no record of this person ever existing online. That's a little, but it still works. And it's so crazy how it's like just throughout the years, it's like, because that's the move.
Dude, sell the story, brother. Sell the story. Yeah. If you sell the story, right? And here's the thing, like, we weren't doing anything wrong. I wasn't breaking any laws. Like, I knew that I did have the capacity to do what I needed to do, but nobody was going to do that unless I presented it in the right way. So I did. Took my chances and did it. And then actually later on, the booker at that club was like, so you don't have a real manager. Did you do you know that? And I was like, between you and me, yes.
Yeah.
But he was like, so you're going to have to get a real one. I was like, so here's the thing. I don't know how to do that. So if you could tell me. And they were like, here, and this like gave me some insight. So I was almost rewarded a little bit because he's like, I see the hustle, you sneaky little fuck. But if like, bitch, I'm from Detroit, like I get what I want. That's it.
That's the thing. You can take those chances, and it I feel like that's almost that's like a fucking movie. Just the way it wrapped up perfectly, where it's the real lesson is if you take these chances, what people will see is, okay, they can at least back it up, because you see so many people at the beginning, oh, they fucking hustled my way into this spot. And it's like, okay, I wouldn't brag about that because you fucking bombed. You did not do well. You're not going to get rebooked after this. But if you can do that and then be able to back it up, that's the real thing where they're like, all right, kind of finessed us a little bit, but at least, got their foot in and they can actually handle it.
And trust me, it would have backfired if I got out there and couldn't have held my own. Like exactly. If I went out there and was just a ass fuck who like had 10 minutes, but I told you I had 45, that was not going to cut it. So like being able to do it for real was, I just gave myself an edge for you to be able to see that I can do the thing that I'm telling you I can do.
Yeah.
That's where the lie stopped.
Yeah.
If you will.
That fits in perfectly with what we were talking about at the beginning. It's like
Mhm.
it's no one's thinking about you, so you really got to fucking edge your way in. Have you ever
Yep.
heard about Bernie Mac? How he used to go to clubs and I'm pretty sure it's Bernie Mac, but he would go to clubs and go up to the manager and be like, "I will give you $100. If I bomb, you keep it. If I don't, I get it back. That's it." Like when he doesn't have a spot on the show, he just be, let me on, let me on. They're like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Like, why would I put you on? He's like, cause if I bomb, you get $100. And they're like, all right, yeah, go do 10. Like, I don't, this is the easiest $100
Wow.
I'll ever make. He never lost any money. Never lost it.
I love that. I
Isn't that
still to
crazy?
this day would not do it.
No,
I'm
no, I
scared.
need $100. I
That would
need that
scare
money.
me. That would scare me so bad. You know what's funny though is I'm actually down. I'm sorry for the setup. It's not ideal.
No, you're
But
fine.
they're building a house across the street, like literally right outside from where I typically record. And I've had some big interviews that I've had to be on lately, and
Mhm.
I have been so tempted to just go out to the construction workers with $100 and be like, I need you to stop for 1
Yeah.
hour. But like I can't do it.
Be
Oh
like,
my God, I did do it. I gotta tell you something. So my assistant like keeps me in check, like for sure. You met Jeff when we were on the road. And
mhm.
like sometimes he'll like keep me in check and I'll be like, no, like I have to do it this time. And there was a bar across the street from a club that we went to recently after the show, and I went in and they weren't going to let me in with my backpack. They didn't know who I was. Like I never expect people to know who I was. And it's just like I was like, okay, they're not going to let me in with my backpack. They're like, you can keep your backpack right here. And it was like a
Mhm.
table. They weren't watching it. It was like,
Mm.
no. So I pulled out $40 for each of the security guards. And I was like, here, that backpack stays very safe. And they were like, no problem. And they like moved tables around. They put my
Yeah.
backpack under it. They moved it closer to them. And I was like, that's got my joke book in it. That's
Yeah.
my lifeline to the world. Like this cannot get fucked with. This $80 after I just did this show is money well spent.
Yeah.
And then afterwards they were like, great. And then the owner came up to him and he's like, hey, I just heard you popped in after your show, would love to buy you a drink. And I was like, let me tell you what, yes, you can do that. Like, it was
Also,
like
I'm gonna need about $80, okay? Because
yeah.
that's hilarious.
100%. Yeah, I felt like such an asshole while I was doing it, but also I was like, no, you know what? You can do this right now.
Yeah.
My dream is one day I want to walk up to a restaurant. I never expect people to know who I am. I don't think I ever will. Nobody fucking knows who I am. And I just one day want to be able to walk up to a restaurant and they're like, we're full, and be like, what
Not for
can you
me.
do? Right. Like, and just like slide a little bit, like a
Yeah.
couple Washingtons across the, is it George Washington is on the $100 bill? Let's just
No,
pretend
he's on
that
the
he is.
$1 bill.
Bitch, is that true?
I'm pretty sure.
Is it Benjamin Franklin? Ooh, we're gonna look up.
Yes, Benjamin.
Bitch,
You know, I
literally
walk
just
in.
said-
I walk into the restaurant, all right. I
I give
slip
her
them about
$2.
$3, okay, and I say, "What can you do with this?" And they say, "We can get you a gumball out of the machine." And I say, "That'll do."
I hate myself. I
slip
literally
them a
just
couple
said
Washingtons.
George Washingtons. Like if
They
that
get
doesn't
even
show
more
you,
upset with me, and then I leave.
if that doesn't show you who I am, literally, yeah, a couple George Washingtons. Fuck myself. Anyway, the end.
That's hilarious. That makes me think of just not letting the momentum die, and something I heard from a writer. I think he would write like screenplays, I think, and he was talking about like how to deal with rejection and kind of that, and that's especially like you send off a script, you're probably not going to hear back for like a month or two, at least. And so he was saying just always kind of keep your ball rolling. So when you're finishing something, you kind of start something else. So then once you finish that, that's all good. You're then excited about this next project. So you keep working on that. You get that other thing sent off. If that no comes back, you're like, oh, damn, that sucks. But I got this whole other thing that I'm excited about now. So then you just kind of keep working on that. It's like a little trick for yourself.
Yes.
And obviously it's much easier said than done. You can't just, I have a million ideas all the time.
Yes.
But it is that thing to kind of understand. And something I try to remember as much as possible is this might be a no right now, but this doesn't end things,
Exactly.
This isn't like, if this isn't all right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to ask for it or apply for it, and then I'm not going to work until I hear back. It's like, no, you just always kind of keep going. You always keep working on something else, keep reaching for something else,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm aligned.
Yeah. All right. Well, at the end, we do rapid fire questions. I got 3 of them for you.
Yeah.
You can answer all, and I put rapid in quotes. Oh no, actually, I was going to ask you, are you big on like manifestation and that type of stuff?
I just manifested big time today. Did you see it?
What?
I like did a whole thing online. So my big goal, I've never really spoken. I am huge on manifestation. I think it is so true. Like things have not come true for me until I've just told people that this will happen. And I have a huge goal. And I realized this morning that I've always been keeping it to myself. And I typed it out today and I posted it on my page and I was just like, let's go. And the comments were overwhelmingly like, this is going to happen. Like, I see it too. And I was like, whoa, this is really better than I thought. And I said, in the spirit of bitch.
You got it.
There's a spirit inside me. In the spirit of manifestation, I will host Kids Say the Darndest Things one day. That's what I said. And then the caption that I wrote, I said, watch me. So now that I've said it, it has to happen. The pressure's on and I'm down to play.
Yeah, just what you were saying before about not faking it till you make it, but playing that role. All that made me think of it, because the last guest I had on, huge into manifestation, and that's kind of the most I've like delved into it or heard about it.
Yeah.
And that it was kind of that same thing, which I'm a little more on board with now. I wasn't fully or really with it, just kind of, because what I heard about it was like, oh yeah, if you want a Ferrari, just think about it and you'll get it. And I'm like, I don't think that's gonna work. But yeah, definitely now seeing like, oh, okay, kind of words have power, as cliche as that sounds. But so if you're just like, and that's kind of where I was for a long time. I didn't call myself a comedian because in my mind, a comedian was a headliner who's making their living doing it and this and that. So for a long time, I was just like, I'm not there yet. So I'm just, I'm working at it, blah, blah, blah. But then so many people were like, no, this is what you fucking do. I had one friend who was an actor. She's like, you know what? No, you just got to say it. And you got to start, people ask, don't say I'm a server, say I'm a comedian. And, and I also serve as my day job. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. Went to a coffee shop. This woman started talking to me and I was like, fuck it. I'm going to claim it. I'm going to do it. I did it. She was insane. She started going off on me about like Trump and all this crazy shit. And I was just like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. But yeah, so kind of.
But she believed you.
She did, yeah. But she was like one of those people that was like, "Well, here's what you got to talk about. You got to talk about this and how crazy the liberals are." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, we're not gonna do that." But seeing it now and just being like, "Yeah, no, it definitely does." Because if I kind of like we were talking about before, like if you have that safety net or a little reserved, it's like, well, I'm not going to ask for the stuff that I really want because you either come up with an excuse why you're not this or you're not that, or you just don't really feel pushed to do it. You kind of want to wait for it to come in real time, but it's like, no, you kind of gotta claim it. You gotta say, I am this is what I want, I deserve this, so damn it, I'm gonna go out and get it.
I'm into it. I'm so into it. Yes, and yes.
But then also what you were saying, you're like, you got to fit the thing. And I was like, man, that's social media to a T. That is social media to a T, where you see so many people, you're like, damn, this person's balling. And then you see them in real life and you're like,
ooh, that person's falling. Yeah, it's like not great. Yeah. And that's the other thing too. The social media thing, honestly, I do get an enjoyment out of interacting with my fans, and I do appreciate the creative liberty that you get on socials, because it's like I'm creating content that's from me, from my brain, and no network told me to change it. I just put it out there and it like worked or it didn't, and that's cool. But there's so many people who are these like living this like influencer life, and when you meet them in real life, it's all, I got my phone out. It's all, let's record everything I'm doing. Let's blah, 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 blah. And it took me a while to realize, like, that's not it. Like, that is not being present. Like, you got to, especially as a comic, you have to be present to then take what you did and bring it on the stage. But if you're just constantly like, look at my fiddle leaf fig, it looks like a penis. Like, that's not going to cut it, babe.
It's almost like the damn, this might be my quote.
Come
this
on,
might
babe.
be my quote here.
Come on.
Might be my tattoo. It's almost like social media should be complementary to your life, not the other way around.
Dude, I'm typing it out on a sticky note on my computer right now. That was so cool. I love that.
No Patreon tiers for that. If you get that tattooed, no Patreon tiers. I can't afford it.
Can you say it again? I actually loved that. It was.
So the social media should be complementary to your life, not the other way around. And I'm throwing the notes away.
I love that. I love it. I wrote it down because I think it's so cool. I loved it. You're gonna rapid fire me, babe? Let's do this.
Yeah. Okay, so rapid fire, and rapid is in quotes. Okay. It doesn't have to be that quick, but it's just, if you could actually answer in slow-mo, that would be much appreciated. But the first one is, what do you think a key to a happy life is?
For me, it's maximizing time spent. Maximizing time spent. Like when you are in a situation that you love, be it with a person, be it with a pet, be it with a hobby, or in a location, like maximizing the time spent with that. Like when for example, I had a couple things on my calendar, and my parents were like, oh, we're coming to Seattle. And it was the same week that I had these two things on my calendar. And I was like, those two things are not worth maximizing time spent with my parents. They are not going to be here forever. They're not. And like, that is something that I enjoy. It makes me happy being around family. So I was like, no, doing it. And that is, I think, the key to being happy is maximizing the time spent and the things that make you happy.
Perfect. Second one is, what is a simple pleasure that you have in life?
Hold on. Hold on. Give me like 2 seconds. A simple pleasure that I have in life, and it's simple. I'm not a simple person. Dude, this is so simple. I bought a hummingbird feeder that sits outside my window, and it like legit collects the hummingbirds, like the hummies. They love it. I've named them, and I live to sit super still in this spot and just watch these bitches drink from this thing and be like, that's right, I am hum daddy. Like, that's what's up. And I love it. And it costs $0. Well, the thing costs like $20, but hey.
There you go. Hummingbirds are magical, man. Whenever you see one, it's like,
they're like God's helicopters. That's crazy. That was the most stoner thing I've ever said.
Also, one of the smallest birds is a helicopter. All right, perfect. Last question is, who's someone you want to work with in the future? Speaking of manifestation, put it out there, baby.
Someone I want to work with in the future. Well, I did already get my one, which was Ellen, that was great. I would live and love to work with. I'd love to work with Bert Kreischer.
Okay.
I think that he's known as being like the party guy, but he's so deep and like loves his family so much, and I respect that so much, that I think that him and I would vibe. I do. He one time on a podcast too, he was like, I get a little like, I don't think that I'll hang out well with gay guys because they have this perception of me. And I was like, oh, baby, let me prove that wrong. You know, I think we vibe. I think we vibe.
Well, wrapping it up, what do you want to plug? Where can people find you? What's
Check me
going
out
on?
on all socials. It's Mr. D times 3, MRDTIMES, the number 3. And then head to MrD3.com. I'm on tour right now. We're wrapping in about a month. And then I'm taking the summer off and I'm back on this fall and winter. So check me out. Would love to have you.
Perfect. Well, Joe, thank you for coming on. It's been a great conversation.
Elliott, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you for listening. Make sure to tune in next time when we're back with another great guest and another great lesson. Bye.